Leah here for Clarence Media, and this afternoon I'm here with Deborah Lyons. Deborah is running as an independent in the upper house. So we're going to have a bit of a chat today about the difference between the upper house and the lower house. Thank you for taking some time out to come over and have a chat to us today.
Oh, thank you, Leah, for making the time. I'm so glad to be here.
No, that's okay. And so firstly, would you like to talk about what inspired you to get into politics and what sort of values that you affect your decision making?
Well, that's a great question. Well, I was involved with the Christian Democratic Party for 8 years in Coffs Harbour. And, of course, they no longer exist anymore. Fred's gone and he's joined another party. And so I've been out of politics now for about 8 years. And when this election came up, I didn't want to have anything to do with it. And then I just started hearing a lot of the things that were going on. And I'm a faith-based person. I have Christian values. And I just thought, if we don't stand up and fight, a lot of our freedoms and a lot of our freedom of speech and the way we want to rear our children and the schools we want to send them to is going to be taken off us. So that's why I decided to get back into politics. And the values that I have, well, of course, they're my faith. I believe that Australia's been a wonderful nation that's been started on Judeo-Christian principles. And I see those principles being eroded very gradually, but all of a sudden it's been a really big, fast push. And I see that, look, I'm for freedom of speech. So I don't mind if you have a different opinion as me, but just don't ram your opinion down my throat or my children's throat. And so I felt that my principles had a voice, and I needed to be a voice for my principles and my values, because I think that we are the silent majority that are sitting silent, and it's about time we started to have a voice.
Yep. Okay, that's wonderful. So now, a lot of people don't know a lot about politics.
Yes.
A lot of people grow up and once they start voting, they vote for the same party, and don't think too much about it and don't know much about the difference between the two pages that we get. So we've been interviewing the candidates for the Clarence electorate. Now there's 8 of those, and that's
on the small
a little piece of paper. Now, Deborah is running on the piece of paper that people like to call the tablecloth.
That's right.
Okay, so that's the upper house. So Deborah, what's the difference? Would you like to explain the lower house and the upper house? So
I'll do my best, Leah. The lower house is for your local representatives that are going to represent you on things like your roads, your hospital, your education, and the things like that. They also work in conjunction with the federal government and your local government. The upper house is called the House of Review. So the things are debated in the lower house, so a policy or a legislation will be debated in the lower house, and then that will then pass through the upper house for what they call a review. We're like the scrutineers, if you like. And so all of that is then picked apart again by the different parties in the upper house, and then we might send it back to the upper house with a few adjustments, with a few amendments, or we might ask for them to come back to us with a completely new deal. So we're like the gatekeepers, if you like to say. We are the ones that watch out and make sure that the legislation that actually gets passed is going to be the best for everybody in New South Wales or in Australia.
So as we said, the little piece of paper, they're all people that live in the Clarence electorate.
That's right.
In terms of our discussion. But the big piece of paper that's got, I don't know, how many names, do you know how many names
from A to Q groups.
And then there's multiple
there's
under
multiples
some of them.
that can be up to 15 people in each group. So there's quite a lot.
So they're not actually...
you might never see them.
They cover everywhere. They're not electorate specific.
No, that's
like
we're all covering New South Wales.
You're covering the whole state, not just your area, because
exactly
you're actually from over near Glen Innes.
I'm over near Glen Innes in a little tiny town that no one's ever heard of. It's got 20 people in it, so it's a really big deal for me to get back into Coffs Harbour.
So you're what, 10% of the population then?
I'm probably 0.01% of the population, but we do cover the whole of the state. And because I've been in politics before and I have a great following in Coffs Harbour and a great following here in Grafton and up on the tablelands. I thought, well, why not throw my hat in the ring? But yes, it's called the tablecloth because it goes across the whole piece of little bit of cardboard that you get to write your little notes on. But it is really important that this election you make sure that if you want your voice in Parliament, that you choose 15 people at least on the bottom of the top line that you want to represent you in, because not everybody is represented by all the parties. And, you know, you've got to make sure that you get people that are going to ensure that the best for everybody. And my biggest drive this election is to protect the children.
Yep.
Like, I like to think that children have an innocence that should be protected. I don't care what nationality, creed, colour, code you are. Every single little child needs to be left to enjoy their innocence.
Yep.
And we're trying to throw activists and ideologies down their throat that little children haven't got the capacity to even understand. And I think it's so sad when we're confusing, like, mental health is on the rise. Let's face it. It doesn't matter where you travel in Australia. Mental health, crime rates in youth. I work with high-risk youth. I run equine assisted learning programs for high-risk families and youth.
Yep.
I see the results of what happens when families are broken, drugs and alcohol take over, and the children are left as a result. I see that on a day-to-day basis. And some of the agendas and some of the legislation and some of the confusion is making our young people worse.
Yep.
And they need to have certainty. One of the most important things for a human being, I don't care who you are, is you need to have a certain amount of certainty in your life. And when all your certainty is taken out and everything becomes fluid, there's no certainty. And that's when anxiety and depression. So if we really care about our children's mental health, let's give them some certainty until they're old enough to decide. That's my point. And I think consistency, what I see in the government at the moment, Mr. Perrottet said that he would like to give principals the option to hire and fire their own school teachers for 50 schools in Sydney. Well, I say, Mr. Perrottet, give all the principals in New South Wales the option to hire and fire their school staff, because then we take the debate away from faith-based schools. Everybody's vilifying faith-based schools for having to want the same right to employ their teachers that are going to model and uphold those values. But I say if you put that across the board, Mr. Perrottet, and let all the principals hire and fire their own teachers, then you'll take that debate away. So, sorry, Leah.
No, that's all good. And so is there anything else? Oh, well, where can people go to find out more about you if they want to find out more about you? And
okay, well, I have a Facebook page. It's called The State Election. My name's Deborah Lyons, and if you send me an invite, I'll definitely let you into the group. We're sending around through churches and individuals within the community how to vote and updates on what we're standing for. And we believe that righteousness exalts a nation. When wickedness takes over, everybody suffers. Doesn't matter who you are. So we're really standing on that. If we have righteous people in government and we make righteous decisions, then everybody will benefit from that. And is there anything else you'd like to add before we finish? Yes, we're on Group E.
Group E.
We're Group E. So if you go A, B, C, D, E, we're only 3 people in Group E. Give us the 1, 2, 3 vote and then go and choose your next 4 to 15, wherever you would like them to go. But I can guarantee we will stand up for the people in this area. We will make sure that your children are protected, and we will make sure that every single person in the community gets a voice, and we'll care about every one of you and what you need.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks for your time today, Deborah.
Thank you, Leah.